Hi ghosties, this is my ghosty. Whew! So we got three topics, but one of them is going to be opinion. The other two is going to be the drama. Anyway, so we're going to go with Barbie first, the opinion wise. The astronaut Barbie was a disaster in my book. I don't like the sleeves, I don't like the overall design, and I don't really like her. So I'm happy to have my discount spent on just the models here, but overall, I just don't like the astronaut. It's just the pose and everything belonging to her is hideous, too pink, and too friendly. I just didn't like the overall idea of the 60s style of the astronaut with those puffed up sleeves, well, shoulder pads. It's just ridiculous. I know you're gonna say, but it's not based on what Nikki designed, it's just what the doll designed. Yeah, I understand that. I wasn't born yesterday. I just don't like that they picked that suit for some reason and just didn't like look at the other suits along with it. It's just wow. Anyway, the model, don't like her either. I like the makeup and the kitten, but everything else meh. Don't like it. The dress makes her look like she's got a wonky leg because of all that fabric. It's just ugh. Um yeah. That's what I could give for those two opinions, is that I don't like them both. Regarding if they're Barbie, I just don't like the whole 60 vibes. And then let's move on. So we got the skin tone situation where we have the two skin tones. And to be honest, I understand your frustration because basically there's been comments going around that calling Love Nikki lazy and things like that, but you got to understand. If it's a dress up game, the suits come first. It's a dress up game for a reason. You only focus on the fashion and not the skin color. I don't care. I don't really care. You don't see a model coming into, the next top model and just say, oh, I changed my skin tone from white to black. I know, it's so cool, right? So why the hell should Nikki do it? You're playing a bloody character, not yourself, and you're not playing a character within a character within a character. You're playing Nikki, and you like to design her in so many things. But I understand that somebody actually gave me a comment that they want to make Nikki cosplay their black favorite character. And I understand now that, oh yeah, skin tones really do matter if you want to recreate your favorite character that's in a different skin color. Now I understand. Yeah, but overall, it's just a dress up game. They focus highly on their outfits and not really what your personal features look like. Like I said with the body changes, you're playing Nikki, you're not playing you. So I just have to stick with that statement and just say, deal with her skin color, deal with her body type, because at the end of the day, she's a character in a damn game. But I don't understand why we need two of the same colors. They have different names and different descriptions, but same attributes. So I still don't understand why we need two of the same colors, because we only need one if we want to go with that creation. We don't need two. Anyway, let's move on from the skin color. And I disagree with what Nikki did to have the two of the same colors. It's just ridiculous. We're going to the video about Vivi, what Effie made. Effie and Vivi had like a bit of a letdown last year with the Ass Wars situation, which is gonna pop up soon. The Ass Wars video was Vivi explaining, well, not Vivi, Effie explaining that Vivi took her Ass Wars title idea just so she gains more views. To me, it just didn't seem that big of a deal, but knowing that Vivi did took my content with the CN server way before it was a big thing. I was the very first few that had the idea to go to a different server, and before it was a popular thing to do that. And then Vivi did the same thing, like a couple of months, well, more like a few weeks after my Tengu and Sashiki topic in CN server was gaining a lot of views. She took my idea. I didn't go back to the idea anymore. So CN server videos are cancelled on my channel because you could go to Vivi for that. So she's done it the exact the same to Effie multiple of times. So she took her Aswell's idea. She took her how much I spent in Love Nikki idea. She took almost every single well, not every single, but most of the important ideas that Effie could have, because she gained a lot more views on those videos. It's especially his series that Vivi took as well with the competition. I have not seen anyone did a competition video until Effie came along. And that's when my colour teams kind of died down, because Effie was making a guide on how to dress up in a certain theme. And then boom, Vivi did it. And I was kind of like suspicious too, and I saw that change. So being, competition topics, being from nothing to having two people now doing it is just suspicious in the same timing as well. No matter if you're a supporter of Vivi, but I'm just gonna bash you in this point. You are like emotionally attached to Vivi if you are her supporter, saying that if you have something bad to say about her, don't say it at all. But how come only the positive things can be said and not the negative? You need to have them both for a good balance at the end of the day. So any comments saying, oh, it's just a game, blah 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 blah, I'm gonna burn you straight away in this video if you're just gonna carry on watching. So I seen the comments like that on Effie's Instagram post regarding the video that she's posted about Vivi. People were saying, ignore it. Darling, sweetheart, my boo-boo kitten. Ignoring something so emotionally, you could be so emotionally attached to. Look at the ways that bullies work. If you ignore them and ignore them and ignore them, and people be like, oh, if you ignore them, they might stop because you're not bothered. That is not a good idea, because they still carry on until you bloody crack. You may feel, at the end of the day, feel like you're worthless because the amount of times they bullied you. Ignoring the situation like this is exactly getting bullied. You don't ignore it when you're emotionally attached to making content to your videos. You don't ignore it when somebody else stealing your content for their personal gain. It's not about you if they steal it, it's about them when they steal it. And that's what you lack to know. Ignoring situations like this doesn't emotionally do you any good. It literally messes with your mentality and it messes with your emotions. So ignoring a topic that you strongly believe and you strongly are against is not a good way to ignore it. It's not a good advice. You're giving a bad example, and it's not good. It's not good towards anyone that's getting bullied. It's not good for anyone that's saying, oh, you should ignore it because, yeah, she's stealing your content, but ignore it. Really? Ignore it when somebody's stealing your content? No, darling, that's not the way to do it. Effie did say she won't ignore it because she was strongly against it, so good for Effie to be dealing with this the way she believes to deal with it. And it was this other comment about, it's just a game. Yeah, she's playing just a game. But video-wise, putting ideas, putting her effort, and even editing those videos back to back, it's just not fun. It really isn't. It can be fun when you want to see the finishing results, because the finishing results is a good and relaxing thing if you're happy about it. But it's not just a game. Yeah, Love Nikki is just a game, but she's making content about Love Nikki. She's putting her time, her effort, and energy into her videos and what she strongly likes to do for this game and make changes for it. So, is it just a game? No, she's putting her almighty effort into it. So that's one thing you don't understand about videos. You watch people on YouTube, and if you watch gamers, and you watch gamers like playing the actual game, that's just a game. But if you're actually watching people to make up with their reviews, make up drama, comedy, things like that, That is more just a game because you're adding a bit of you into the video and having a bit of personality. That's putting a lot of time into it. So, not just a game. It really isn't. If video wise, it isn't, but game wise, it is. There was this other one. Vivi is just human. So are me, so is Effie, so are you. So, you're saying that we're only humans, we can't make bad mistakes? So, since we're only humans, we can't make bad decisions? So, since we're only humans, we can't make bad choices? Is that what you're telling me? Because I'm human too. And if I made up something so bad, I won't I won't be blamed for because I'm human. No, darling, I don't care who is human and who is not. At the end of the day, if you do something bad, so bad for stealing content, you're getting called out on. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if it's your favorite YouTuber or influencer. At the end of the day, they took something from someone. And they are responsible to have a backlash. So, just human? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you do something bad, you get called out on, so you could work both ways. Negative or positive, I don't give a flying fudge. Stop dealing with it like the most pussiest way and just say, you know what, you done something bad. You did a two-faced move with the ranking event and also taking somebody else's ideas. At the end of the day, you're a douchebag, therefore I'm not going to support you. But we have a strong-ass Vivi supporter saying, she's only human. She could make mistakes. She has emotions. And your video was just bullying her. Oh my god. I'm gonna burst into tears. I don't give a flying fudge. She did something wrong and she's gonna get called out on. I don't care how big she is. I don't care about anything. She took somebody else's ideas for several months. But she gets a flipping round of applause. Well done. Yes, screw Effie's emotions. It's all based on you. No, it's not. It's based on both of them. Effie did the way she believed was good to her, because she exposed someone through having a two-faced action, such as the ranking event, signing that petition or banning ranking events, but still spent money on the event. And then taking Effie's titles and ideas for her videos, so Vivi could get all the credibility. I have no negative opinions towards Effie, but reviewing video wise is that she's been extremely negative, and with the Fate Trio, I stopped subscribing to her with the Fate Trio. I'm sorry, Effie. It was just too much to deal with. It's like, I'm spending so much diamonds on this event and someone's bashing on the suits. I don't like to be emotional with this, but if someone's gonna bash those two suits and they spent at least 6k diamonds on them, you just feel like you wasted your diamonds on something that many people would dislike. But at the end of the day, I do enjoy them, but I think the whole negative opinions towards those two suits did rub me off the wrong way, and I just didn't like to watch the content anymore. So it's nothing personal, I just didn't like the fact that the negative was going towards those two suits that I spent so much diamonds on. No ill will, no nothing, no grudge, just straight up opinion against opinion, that's it. But that's different though, because stealing content is like stealing a piece of artwork. Having someone that's saying, ignore the situation, is like getting bullied in high school for several years. So these two advices and choices are both bad, because at the end of the day, you have to think about how you would feel. How that person would feel. If you ignore the situation, the mental illness will go really bad. I mean, to the point that you will be self-conscious, insecure, depressed. Depressed. That's the worst of them all. Depressed. And also, what was that other thing I said about? Basically deal with it. And also there was this other comment as well, I need to hurry up with this video, is that people said to personally go to Vivi and talk about it, which she did. If you watched her Asswell's video, she did. She talked about it with Vivi, and Vivi just ended up threatening her and also put up a law thing as well. So if that's not a threat, I guess a knife to your neck is just a threat, isn't it? So yeah, that's all I could say, and have a nice life. Do do do.